we could create a distinction around this word awake. The final place, stage, space of awake for us each can only be reached if we have moved outside of thought, because thought is our first stage of sleep. That old saying, what is it? I am, therefore I'm. I don't know what, I don't remember that old saying. It left me. I think, therefore I am. It needs to be amended a bit to, I think, therefore I'm asleep. That's why the older gurus, the folks used awakened as one of their words, along with enlightened or transformed. So the true distinction here I'm drawing is that to be awake, we must live ourselves, we must live our lives outside of thought. It's a extremely delicate, I guess that's the word, way of being, because it is the ability to be awake and then temporarily asleep when you have to think. I've built a couple hundred decks, I guess, and if somebody asked me to build a deck, then I would have to determine the size of the deck so I would know the load that each joist needs to carry, and the band, what size is the band, what size are the nails, 8 penny, 10 penny, 12 penny, 5/4 board, 2/4, 2x4. So the ability to move from being awake into the sleepy space of thought, and then when done, or when it's completed, move back out of thought. Kind of like if you're building the deck and you need a hammer, you pick up a hammer and you use the hammer, and then when you're done with the hammer, you put it down. The same thing is possible with being awake. It means to live your life from creation, which is nothing, from intelligence, which is the flow of life, ever renewing itself in each second, and truth, which is the speaking of what is, and being able then to utilize, to make use of knowledge for what load bearing is there needed, for what nails, all of those things that building a deck requires, or sewing a dress, or cooking a meal, all of the ingredients in the recipe and all of that. We long ago lost that ability, the ability to be awake. Now our world is completely controlled by knowledge and thought and belief, all of which is our history, you see. So What I'm saying is our history controls us. It actually simply repeats itself. We live in a predestined world because everything that we did before, we're going to do it again. And again. And again. Do I repeat myself here? And again and again and again and again and again and again. For thousands of years, we have been doing the same thing. Now, there have been folks during those years, those thousands of years, who discovered the ability to move out of thought. The manner in which they did it was go all the way through thought, and they come out of the other end and they say, oh, wait a minute. At the other end of thought, there's free. There's creation. There's knowledge. There's intelligence. No knowledge. Except when needed. So is it possible then for us individually to begin with, each of us in and of ourselves, to realize that we are stuck in thought? As I have said in some past videos on here, maybe you could start at, it doesn't make any difference where you start, but maybe you could start at belief. If you start at belief and then you discover each belief that you have and allow it to dissipate, just float up into the sky with the Lord Jesus Almighty, or no, what's God? Is that guy up there God or Jesus? In today's, they got it all mixed up, don't they? God is Jesus, Jesus is God, and so anyway, let it go, including that belief. And if you go deeply enough into your system of beliefs, and believe me, I like to tell a joke every once in a while, there's a bunch of beliefs in your system of belief. The first one probably is, you are always right. And nobody else is going to tell you any different, because you know everything. So my suggestion here, going back to the context of this conversation, is to be awake, you must end thought controlling your life. It doesn't mean, well, this is a very delicate way of speaking. I was going to say it doesn't mean ending thought, and it means ending thought. But it means ending thought only until you need thought, as in some physical form, then picking up thought, use it, shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Not today, but it was at one time. And then we don't need it any longer. Put thought down. Move back into the unknown, the space from which you know nothing. True intelligence knows nothing at all. It knows nothing. It's flowing, and it ever renews itself or makes itself new. However, it doesn't know anything. So here is, again, my query, my question, my challenge. Is it possible for you to wake up, you nuthead? And really, there's one requisite. Some people call it prerequisite. I don't know. Requisite means something happened before, I think, and then prerequisite I don't know about all that. One requisite to coming awake, to wake up, is to consider the possibility that you are asleep while you're walking around, talking to people, talking about having a positive attitude or a negative attitude. What the hell's the difference? A positive attitude and negative attitude about a situation is the same. They're both fake because the situation is as it is. It doesn't have any positive or negative. So the requisite to awakening, to enlightenment, to transformation, to transforming planet Earth to a place of peace, to a place where people are free, is first the realization that you're sound asleep. Now, that word sound didn't need to be put there because sound asleep is what happens after you're in bed for some period of time, after you do everything else. The sleep I'm talking about is the sleep of thought, because while you are thinking, you are not awake. You just think you're awake. What it is that you can do to discover the truth of what it is that I'm saying is, first, say, is what this guy is saying true? Then you can begin exploring to discover for yourself the truth or falseness of what I'm saying. However, most people, while listening, listen down through that filter system they have. They know everything. They know God's going to save us. They know Trump is the greatest thing that ever happened or the worst thing that ever happened. They know all that stuff. So they don't listen to listen. They listen to be right. They listen through the filter of what they've already made up their minds about. And my conversations, I don't know if you've listened to them, there's 50 or 60 or 70 of them here on Facebook, and they're all on self-transformation, YouTube user self-transformation. Plus there's 10 or 12 years, 11 years back of all different videos of me spewing the stuff I say with a bunch of different people. So is it within your possibility level for you to consider that you are asleep, and perhaps the most hidden level of sleep is when you are thinking. Because when you're thinking, then you think you're aware, but you're not. You can do your own experiments with that. I've done a bunch of them. If you ever read a book and you're reading the book and you come to the end of the book, or you come to a place where you're ready to stop and you close the book and all you look at, wait a minute. I'm in a room, there's people around here, it's cold or it's hot, there's kids running around. And none of that was apparent while you were reading the book because you were lost in thought, which means you were asleep. So, we are at 15 minutes. And I'm told that there's some kind of thing called attention span. And I seem to run over it. So, my mistake, I apologize for my stupidity. Please, if you care to, each of you have a perfect experience of discovering your while you're thinking.